This is the story about average people in an average town that made a not-so-average transformation. They weren't particularly skilled or even that smart. You know, like most of us. But they wanted something they didn't have.
All right.
And they did something about it. This is Chattanooga 500 million years ago. This is Chattanooga with dinosaurs. Here's Davy Crockett, Civil War, moonshine, railroads. Lots and lots of railroads.
Chattanooga choo-choo, run it down again. Let's go.
All of these railroads transformed Chattanooga into the industrial center of the South. The air was really dirty. Don't just take it from me. Here's the mayor.
The air was really dirty.
Downtown was an armpit. It was just dirty, ugly downtown.
We're in a belt with a lot of coal and a lot of iron. So Chattanooga was built as a railway hub. There was a lot of industry here, so a lot of soot and smoke and emissions.
There were a lot of factories belching a lot of bad stuff into the air.
That bad stuff would settle halfway up the mountains, covering the city in a thick smog.
Air quality control experts have termed Chattanooga a pollution bowl.
There was a point in time where you couldn't see Lookout Mountain from downtown.
People used to use their headlights to navigate during the day.
Chattanooga was a real shithole, and there was basically nothing to do except go out in the woods. In the early days, in the late 80s, folks didn't know about mountain bikes. It was very focused on road. There was a lot of kind of hardcore roadies. And, you know, I'm a roadie too. I love riding the road, but it's a totally different thing, right? I love just the experience of being in the woods, being one with your machine. You know, back in the day, you were slogging through the mud with horses and ATVs. You know, it's all Jeep Trail up there. Because I grew up in the woods and I love trails. I mean, when I was 12, 13, we were building trails in the woods to ride our, you know, single speed bikes on. And
when I was growing up, these sports weren't sports. There was cycling, but it wasn't big. It was kind of under the radar. We were hunting down bike trails.
We didn't know any of the landowners. We didn't know who was in charge, and it got totally shut down. People with shotguns showing up at folks' cars saying, yeah, you don't need to be up here.
There are nail boards being put under the leaves, and sometimes somebody might string up some barbed wire here or there, so.
Everybody just wanted trails in Chattanooga. We just knew it was going to make a change.
There's so many great places around here. We've got the potential. We have the land. We need the trails.
We need single track. Tight little twisty, roly-poly, fast and flowy single track, fun-ass single track.
Chattanooga, historically, the stuff we wanted to have here, we've had to do it ourselves. I think that volunteer spirit is part of what makes it special.
I started building little quiet little single tracks in the middle of nowhere that, you know, would connect to existing Jeep roads and whatnot. And before I was done, about 3 years later, I had about 13 miles of hand-built single track. I spent some of the finest times of my life up in this area. And, you know, they made it illegal eventually. We just needed land manager permission.
First, they needed an organization, one with a good acronym. Southern Off-Road Bicycle Association. Yeah, that'll do.
A lot of us were just too dumb to have a vision. We just were excited. We just had energy.
It was just a matter of being obnoxious a little bit because most land managers did not want to deal with it. Raccoon Mountain was kind of the holy grail.
Raccoon Mountain is steep, rocky, and only 10 minutes from downtown. Perfect for trails, but it was owned by the Tennessee Valley Authority, otherwise known as the TVA.
I remember telling the TVA folks, when we get these trails built, there will be people from all over the country coming here to ride these trails. And she puts a piece of paper on the table and says, here, sign this. And I'm like, oh, okay, sign it. She, okay, you can build trails on Raccoon Mountain now. I spent several years getting up early Sunday morning and going up to Raccoon Mountain and building trail by myself. This is going to be a trail that goes around the top of the mountain. You get 360-degree views, basically.
It's not like one day you just suddenly quit your job and think, I'm gonna start building trail. I mean, you can do that, but you probably won't get paid.
It was all volunteer. And we bought a trailer and an assortment of tools, and it was, let's go and we'll hand build. We were broke kids.
I wanted to build the trails that I like.
Stuart is about one of the most hardcore mountain bikers you can want to know. He would be out there with his little hand rake.
Metal rake with the handle cut off this short, saw around my shoulder.
Riding it, cutting it, riding it.
Snip and clip and saw broken things off. And
I tell you, obsession is going out there in the rain.
I go up on a rainy day and just sit there for 2 hours and watch the rain collect and run off.
It's like, where are you going?
You know, we get Barry Volunteer of the Year one year for Raccoon. He had over 2,000 hours in 1 year. I mean, that's a 40-hour job just in volunteer time.
I like the challenge of it, going through the seasons. I don't like the yellow jackets, hot summer days, cold winters, rain outs.
They'd have volunteer days where they would bring 20 or 30 people out.
And the whole time we were building Raccoon, I felt that momentum that once we get it going, I knew it was like, man, it's just gonna keep going.
Raccoon Mountain was completed. Thousands of riders started to hit the trails, and Chattanooga as a city was changing.
Chattanooga's built itself on being an outdoor city.
I think Chattanooga started seeing the mountains for the first time, and folks started realizing that we've got a lot of potential here for spending time in the woods and on the streams and in the creeks.
People began to collectively think of Chattanooga, as an outdoor town. People began to sort of realize, wow, it's a thing. And Chattanooga is really, really fortunate and extraordinary in terms of what we have. We're in the process now of talking about how we support green spaces and trails, but there hasn't been a real institutionalized effort to do that.
Part of what I think is going to come from this boom is more trails. Raccoon Mountain opened up. All these guys are coming back and buying high-end bikes.
What's up, dude? So pretty. So pretty. I'm Les Warnock. So I'm currently the president of SORBA. Every single one of these trail systems was just their blood, sweat, and tears, This is just a perfect stepping stone. You build these trails, and eventually you're gonna catch up. You're gonna start riding these trails, becoming more comfortable with them, and then you're gonna want more.
The desire for more trails had only grown stronger. There were more people willing to do the work, and the scene exploded.
The more trails there were, the more the bikers wanted to get involved, and they wanted to build more trails. It was clear to me that we needed some kind of really ambitious vision. Well, we need 100 miles of single track.
100 miles of new single track within 10 miles of downtown Chattanooga by 2010.
Their sights were set, 100 miles of single track was the next evolution of Chattanooga mountain biking. But they would have to find a way to build it themselves.
People with a vision started piecing together big tracts of land.
It took a long time to get land managers to allow mountain bikes in a lot of areas. The mountain bike community as a whole has done a fantastic job of getting trails opened.
We're good at mobilizing when there's something that, we see potential.
So we just started first pro build out here at Walden's Ridge, so that's phase 1 of the construction out here. Most of the trails in Chattanooga, with the exception of one right now, are bi-directional. So it'll be the first downhill trail. There's no funner type of riding than downhill trails. I think it had been in the works for 4 years whenever I first started. So, came on with Sorba. So it's awesome just to be dropped in the middle of it and then be able to help out wherever I can. This is what Chattanooga needs. We need this progression. You can build features that are bigger, require more speed. It sounds silly, but there have been sleepless nights where it's like I'm laying in bed with all these ideas in my head and I'm thinking about, what this means and how are we gonna get this all done, and all those different things are just like bouncing around in my head, and I go watch Netflix. I feel seriously lucky to be a part of this, and I think that's why I feel so obligated to, is because, I love this type of riding. It's exactly what I want in Chattanooga. It's just been awesome to be involved with it, and also kind of, nerve-wracking.
We have such different styles of trails.
Cross country and downhill.
Old school, fast and flowy.
Rocky and technical.
Downhill runs, all the gravity trails.
Raccoon Mountain.
White Oak Mountain. Enterprise South.
5 Points. Stringer's Ridge.
Moonshine.
Lula Lake.
The Walden's Ridge project.
Damn, we've got 100 miles of trails.
It was always here, right? The mountains, the river. Why we weren't paying that much attention to it back then, I can't say. People are happier and they feel better when they spend time outside. It's not a hell of a lot more complicated than that.
Cycling is freedom with, one of the most amazing machines humans have ever invented.
I mean, really, it's about going fast. I think that more than anything is just my favorite thing to do.
The future of mountain biking is more people in the woods. And it's more people that don't know what they're doing in the woods.
Well, this place rocks for outdoor adventure, outdoor recreation.
I could never work in a cubicle, that's for sure.
We're all doing our part to make it better, and it's awesome, man. Chattanooga's the best. People have these visions, and they want to see something come into fruition, and they do it themselves. And that's how all of the trails have been developed in Chattanooga thus far. This is good for our city.
If you really want something, you might have to just go do it yourself. So I guess stop watching this and go do that thing you know you should be doing. Or just go ride your bike.